Hello viewers at home, welcome to another beautiful edition of AGRI-PRENEUR on Independence Television, Abuja. I'm Simon Adeniji, and like we said the last time on the program, that we'll be bringing to you aquaponics and backyard farming. So today is the first time we're starting the topic, and I would like to take us through the basic knowledge and the things that we need to know as far as aquaponics and backyard farming is concerned. But basically, do you know that you can do a lot of things in your backyard even without a farmland, even without a very rich soil, so to say? And this is a kind of farming system that year in, year out, you have products to push to the market. So regardless of the size, it can serve as your as a subsistence farming, which means the one that you and your family gets to feed from. And it can also serve your household, like I said. It can also serve as the one you can push into the market depending on the space that you have. But the basic truths and what we want you to understand on today's episode is, regardless of the size of space that you have, that your backyard, that's your balcony, that's your little corridor that you know that is just there. So you can convert it to something that can bring you some subsequent cash, and it will increase the cash flow in terms of your income. So basically, we'll be looking at aquaponics and backyard farming. Aquaponics is another aspect of aquaculture, in whereby a system is channeled or constructed in a manner that the waste from the fish water will be serving as nutrients and manure for the plants that you plant. And then the aquaponics system is in such a way that you have your fish pond beneath, and then you have some kind of structure whereby you plant the whatever plant you have. In aquaponics, you can do vegetable and pepper and all those stuff. You can do it in aquaponics. Then unlike the backyard farming now, you can do it in sack, in buckets, in flower vase and all those things. So, but going deep into the aquaponics now, I will talk about the basic things that you need if you want to set up an aquaponics. And of course, you will need a guidance of an expert, and we are always there to put you through. So, and you need an existing fish pond that is not overstocked. So you should know that once we say your fish pond should not overstock, which means that you must know the stocking density of your pond. If it is going to take 1,000, don't put more than 1,000. If it is 900, if it is 700, depending on the size of the pond that you have. So that is what will give you an idea of stocking initially. Then before talking of doing the aquaponics, And aquaponics is a way of getting double cash. You have cash from your fish, and you have cash from the crops you plant, in the sense that the crops you plant will grow and feed from the waste that is coming out from the fishes, and the fishes in the other aspects get their water purified and cleaned, because the waste is not staying there, it's being fed on by the crops that you plant. So you see, this is another way of turning waste into money. And if you want to do this, you really have to acquire basic knowledge about how to set up aquaponics. However, I will be showing you a short clip on some basic equipment that you need in setting up an aquaponics. So stay tuned, and we'll be back shortly. Thank you. Welcome back on the program. It's still AGRI-PRENEUR on ITV Abuja. I remain Simon Adeniji. So what you have seen so far is the basic things that you need to put in place when we are talking of aquaponics. You need your fish farm, a fish pond, so to say, an existing fish pond. However, you should know that when we're talking of fish pond, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be an earthen pond. You can have a concrete pond or a mobile tarpaulin pond. All this is available that you can get. So those are the basic things that you really need, because we are looking at getting cash in two ways. So once you have that in place, then we'll talk of how to fix these things that materials that you're going to use in setting up your aquaponics. So let's divert a little and talk of the backyard farming now. Now, backyard farming basically is the idea of backyard farming basically is to get you something doing regardless of the age, because unlike the extensive type of farming, this is not stressful. In fact, a very old person can choose it as an hobby, and you'll be doing it at the back of your house. At the end of the day, you have food for the family, and probably, who knows, you can get little to push it to the market, depending on the size and the capacity that you have to do it. So backyard farming, number one, I will give out the basic list of things that you can plant. You can put vegetables in terms of tomato, pepper, onion, garlic, ginger, everything. In fact, this type of backyard farming is the type that you can plant whatever you want to plant. And the beautiful aspect of this is that you have your crop going all year round, in the sense that there's no season for yam, there's no season for tomato, there's no season for pepper. All year round you can have crops. That is when you are using the sack type of the sack method of backyard farming, in the sense that you get a very fertile soil. If it is not fertile, you might need manure, either organic or inorganic manure, anyone that is readily available to you. You can use it to fertilize the soil. The fertilization process is a process by which you enrich the soil with nutrients that your crop needs to grow. So when you introduce fertilizer to the soil, what it does is that it boosts whatever deficiency you have in terms of nutrients. It increases it to the required amounts that your crops need to survive, if not even more than, because as time goes on, the fertility of the soil will be reducing when consistent use is in practice. So initially, when setting up your backyard farming using sack method, you have to make sure that you fertilize your soil. Initially, you fertilize it and you get a very good type of soil. We all know that loamy soil is still the best in agricultural farming, unless for some purpose that you need other type of soil to complement it. So you get a very good loamy soil, you fertilize it, then you have your sack, any kind of sack, those food items that you buy, any type that you buy, you can get the sack, cut it, and there's a way you perforate this sack in a way that it doesn't get spoiled quickly before you harvest your crops, because when these sacks begin to contain when the sack contains sand and you start to water the crop you have in it, we know that wear and tear will happen to the sack you're using, and it can start to give way. So you really have to choose the best type of sack, strong and solid one. In this case, there are some sack that is lined with nylon. You might not use them. Then you have to perforate it a little. There's a way you perforate them, and you don't overwet your crop in the sack, because there's a turbidity level that when the soil gets to that stage, it collates. And once the soil bake, once it's cake, it will not give you the kind of yield you want as far as your farm produce or backyard farm produce, so to say, is concerned. So that is the number one thing, and the basic thing that you need to put in place. We'll talk about your sack. We'll talk about your soil, the treatment of your soil, and lest I forget, you need to treat the soil even before you fertilize it, so that you don't bring in some germs into the farm that can affect your crop. And after that is being said and done, and treated, then we'll move to species selection of your crops that you want to plant in the backyard farming. Getting the right crop and seedlings can never be overemphasized, because that is what will spell out your overall growth in this kind of business. Remember, you have limited everything. Everything you have is limited. The soil, the even the space. That's because you're confined to use sack now. So everything you have is limited. You don't want to go wrong in choosing the wrong species of crop to plant. So you must select your crop very well. Make sure that you get, if possible, you can keep from whatever you're buying in the market. We all know that you go into the market, you see a certain type of tomato, you see a certain type of vegetable, spinach, and all those vegetables that you see. There are some that will really be catchy, gets your attention. If you bring them to your house, there's no harm in setting aside the ones that you will plant, knowing too well that you like the product you got from that particular thing you bought, because it is always a sign that if you're having a good product from that one and you take the seedling or seed from it, whatever you plant is still going to give you a very good offspring in terms of crop. So those yam you buy, those potato, those vegetable you buy, get their seedling or seed, get their seed, and try to treat them and keep them for your personal farming purpose in your house. So this way, you see, you have really cut another cost, because you are not going to buy. You're taking what you should have thrown into the dustbin or trash out, then you're still trying to convert it into money. And the whole ideology of agri farming, the whole ideology of agriculture is converting whatever is convertible into cash and food for the nation. And that is why and how we can get to the bottom of the value chain in agri. When you know that whatever you ought to have thrown away is still being converted into cash for you. So you don't need anybody to tell you if you are doing well or not. That is on the backyard farming. After selecting your crops, then you move on to the planting season. Like I told you, this type of backyard farming I'm talking about does not have a season, because you are in charge of everything. Like, you take care of everything. You select the kind of place you want to put these bags, and it depends on the type of crops you're planting. There are crops that doesn't like to be exposed too much into the sun, because their photosynthesis rate is low. They don't like to be too exposed into the sun, and there are some that there are stages that they don't like to be exposed, and when they get to some stage, they would like to be exposed. So these are the basic knowledge that you need to know that will guide you through the step-by-step of your backyard farming. And having known this, you have control of the supply of water to your crop. You have control of heat to an extent, and in the case of if you are planting yam, for instance, you might not want to use stick for the stand. You can use rope, channel it, and the beautiful part of it is if you are planting yam, you choose a bigger bag, because we know that the bigger the heap, the bigger the tendency of your yam coming out big. So you choose a bigger bag, you use a rope to tie it from down to up. You kind of project the rope up, and you get it hanging and suspended in the air. You can also plant vegetable as cover crops for your yam in the sack already. These are the things that you can do, and you'll be amazed the results you will get. So going back to aquaponics now, you might not be able to plant yam and some tuber crops in aquaponics, but basically your vegetables will do very well. They will really do very well in aquaponics, depending on the type of structure you choose to use. So like the video we saw earlier and the one that is playing right now, you can see that these crops planted, they are in serial form, well lined, and they are well selected in the sense that you have some that can cover and you have some that can shoot out and grow really big. So it now depends on the choice of varieties that you have to put in the aquaponics that you're doing. So in this way, you're reducing the excess toxic substance in the water for your fish, and you're still converting it into another nutrient for the crops you plant. So everything at the end of the day will come out so beautiful. Let's go on a short break while I show you a short video on the backyard farming, and you get to see you have a little idea of what we are talking about. We'll be back shortly. Thank you.
I'm about to show you guys how you can plant yam in bags. I think there is a space in that. Right. Yeah. So these are already planted ones. You can see they are grown. Okay. So this is the position where the yam is going to, the bag is going to sit. So we don't fill them up from the, the position where the sand is, because it's going to be too heavy for you to lift up. So you just like pour a little bit of sand, and then you bring it to the permanent position. So here, this is going to be the permanent position. So what he's going to do is that he's going to fill up this bag with this sand. All right. So you're about to see what the process looks like when you plant, yam in bags. In the video preceding these ones, I actually showed you guys the ones we initially planted. And if you've seen that video, this is how it looks now. You can see the leaves finally came out. They are blossoming. These are all the yam leaves, like blossoming. They are all yam leaves coming out from these yams. When I made that video, they were barely just bringing out leaves, and just a few of them. All right. So yeah, continue to show you guys how you can plant yams in bags. So currently we are filling up this bag. We are going to fill it almost to the brim, not completely, but almost. So it's gone over to get the yam. I can show you some of the yam seed that is left. So here are some of the yam seed that we have left. We are beginning to run out of space where to plant them. Not actually space, but sand. The sand we're using actually ran out. Let me show them that process, please. See what he just did here. So you just cut a little bit of, can the video, you just cut a little bit of the yam off. Why do you do this? You actually do this so that you would help the yam to, to rust faster. Once you cut it, it goes in the ground and then it begins to rot, so if you don't aid it, it's going to take a longer time. All right, so right now we're going back to the sandbag to show you guys how you actually plant this particular yam. So you're going to see what it's going to do. So you see that he's actually digging not the center but the side of the yam. So this is very important when you're planting your, hold on please, this is very important. So he dug the side of the yam, the side of the sand, so that he would have room for the yam itself. But if you watch the head of the yam, where the yam is actually growing, it's centralized. You see, it's centralized, but the yam itself is to the corner. So that whole part of the yam is going to rot, and then the growth is going to come from the center. So it means when your tuber is coming out, it comes right at the middle. So it's going to go down and it's going to be at the middle. You don't want to have it at the side. If you do have it at the side, it means you're going to give your bag some problem. The tuber itself is going to try to find a way through the bag. So you have to centralize it by placing it that way. And another thing you can notice from the planting is that it's very shallow, you know. He didn't dig like into the soil all the way, you know. So he just planted it at the surface. Why do you do this? You do this because you want to leave a whole room for the bag, sorry, for the tuber to grow. Because once the tuber begins to grow, it's going to find its way down. So you want to plant the yam itself at the surface.
Bacteria.
All right, so here we are going to show you guys why you need to actually cover the yam with leaves, you know, when they begin to come out. As you can see, this particular one, this bag is not covered with leaves. It's just sand that are in there. But watch what happens when you begin to water them. I mean, sometimes you don't get rain, and say for a couple of days or a week there is no rain, you need to water yourself. So just what happens when you begin to water this particular yam that has no leaves. You can see the leaves have been exposed. Right? All right. So we are going to come back to this particular yam in another 5 minutes. Once the water is like drained, you can see what happens. By then you would have seen that the roots will be exposed, all the roots will be out. Remember that these yams were planted on the surface, you know, so there is a need to protect the root from sunlight, from, you know, organisms that actually they might be exposed to. So we come back in 5 minutes to see what happens once the water is gone. All right, so we are back here. I'm going to show you guys the bag that we actually...
Welcome back. It's still AGRI-PRENEUR on ITV Abuja, and I'm Simon Adeniji. So that is how far we can take you guys on today's episode of AGRI-PRENEUR, which we title Aquaponics and Backyard Farming. If you want to be a part of this program, the number you're seeing on your screen is what you can call, and the handles are there. You can also contact us via those handles that you're seeing. And don't forget to stay tuned. Same time, same station next week. Bye.